Welcome to your Cyber Daily News Update for July 8, 2026. Today's top cybersecurity stories include the UK's new AI-powered Cyber Shield initiative, critical Gitea vulnerabilities being actively exploited, CISA's deployment of Anthropic's Mythos AI to scan government code, Chinese threat actors targeting universities, an FBI-led arrest of a Russian hacktivist collaborator, the Januscape VM Escape vulnerability affecting Linux KVM, a confirmed data breach at Mount Royal University, and multiple critical software flaws added to CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities catalogue. Let's get into it. First up, the UK's National Cyber Security Centre has announced plans to build a national-scale AI-powered cyber shield to defend the country's digital infrastructure. This ambitious initiative will work with AI partners to create a comprehensive defence system that can identify and respond to cyber threats across the entire UK government and critical sectors. The Cyber Shield represents a significant shift toward AI-driven cybersecurity defence at the national level, potentially setting a new standard for how governments approach cyber protection in an increasingly complex threat landscape. Next, attackers are actively exploiting a critical authentication bypass vulnerability in Gitea, tracked as CVE 2026-2896, with a CVSS score of 9.8. This flaw allows attackers to bypass authentication and gain access to internet-facing Gitea instances simply by sending a single crafted HTTP header. The vulnerability is caused by insecure default settings that accept connections from any IP address instead of restricting access to trusted reverse proxies. Researchers have already observed in the wild exploitation just 13 days after the advisory was published, with attackers gaining access to repositories and sensitive secrets without requiring any passwords or tokens. Staying with AI in cybersecurity, the US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is reportedly using Anthropic's Mythos AI model to scan federal code repositories for vulnerabilities before hackers and foreign intelligence services can find them. This operation is being run by CISA's Attack Surface Evaluation Team, which conducts security assessments across federal agencies. Mythos is Anthropic's most capable model and isn't available through standard subscriptions, described as exceptionally capable at finding and exploiting security vulnerabilities. The audits have reportedly already uncovered a large number of vulnerabilities, though the exact scope and severity have not been disclosed. Turning to threat actors. A suspected Chinese threat cluster is exploiting vulnerabilities in Roundcube webmail servers to compromise university networks in the US and Canada. The attackers are targeting these institutions to harvest user credentials and gain access to academic research systems and sensitive data. This campaign represents a sophisticated espionage operation focusing on higher education institutions, which often contain valuable intellectual property and personal information that could be valuable to nation-state actors. The breach highlights the growing targeting of educational institutions by sophisticated threat groups. In law enforcement news, Spanish national police have arrested a man in Palencia who was allegedly collaborating with pro-Russian hacktivist groups Kara and Z Pentest. The investigation, conducted jointly with the FBI, identified the suspect as providing logistical support to help a Ukrainian hacker linked to the pro-Russian group escape to Russia through Poland and Belarus. The arrest is part of an ongoing crackdown on hacktivist activities supporting Russia's cyber operations, particularly those targeting critical infrastructure in Europe and the United States. The suspect reportedly used encrypted messaging applications to coordinate with other members of these groups. Now for a critical infrastructure vulnerability. Researchers have discovered a serious flaw in Linux kernel-based virtual machine called Januscape, tracked as CVE 2026-53359. This vulnerability resides in the shadow MMU code and allows attackers to escape from a virtual machine and compromise the underlying host system. The flaw is particularly dangerous for multi-tenant cloud environments running untrusted guests with nested virtualization enabled. Security researchers warn that this represents the first publicly known KVM guest-to-host exploit that can be triggered on both Intel and AMD processors, posing significant risks to cloud service providers and their customers. In breach news, Mount Royal University in Calgary has confirmed a data breach following a cyber attack that disrupted multiple university services on June 18th. Investigators determined that unauthorized actors accessed, stole, and deleted data stored on the university's internal systems, including student and employee files. The breach has forced the institution to begin notifying affected individuals and provide identity protection services. This incident highlights the growing trend of targeted attacks on educational institutions, which often contain large amounts of sensitive personal and research data that can be valuable to threat actors. Finally, the US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has added several critical software vulnerabilities to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, including flaws in Adobe Cold Fusion, Joomla Page Builder, Langflow, and Joomshaper SP Page Builder. These vulnerabilities include CVE 2026-48282, CVE 2026-48908, CVE 2026-55255, and CVE 2026-5629. The move underscores the urgency of patching these flaws, as researchers have already observed attackers exploiting some of these vulnerabilities in the wild. Organizations using affected software should prioritize patching these critical vulnerabilities to prevent potential compromises of their systems. That's your briefing for today. The CVE numbers and links to every story are in the show notes below. If this update helped you stay ahead of the threats, do us a favor and subscribe so you never miss a day. You can catch Cyber Daily News on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Stay sharp, patch early, and we'll see you next time.